HelloFresh takes the guesswork and the extra hassle out of planning and preparing delicious meals for dinner. America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh gives you over 40 recipes to choose from each week. And then your farm-fresh, pre-portioned seasonal ingredients arrive at your doorstep with simple instructions to help you feel like the master chef of your kitchen. And did you know that HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% less expensive than takeout? HelloFresh has been an awesome addition to our household's dinner routine. We all get involved and cook together, following the pictured step-by-step instructions. It's a fun quality time and the meals are delicious. Give it a try and see for yourself. Go to HelloFresh.com/50havingitall and use code 50havingitall for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, to get 50% off plus free shipping, go to HelloFresh.com/50havingitall and use code 50havingitall.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Having It All, a podcast that explores the question, can we really have it all in life? My name is Matthew Bivens, and I believe that having it all means viewing life through a lens of abundance and love. You see, it's not about having anything, but instead about how we experience ourselves, other people, and life itself. In this podcast, my guests and I explore what having it all and creating your ideal life actually look like. We talk about the joy and contentment when you feel like you have it all, however it is that you define it. And we also talk about the profound and sometimes uncomfortable situations that you frequently must go through in order to create that ideal life. My goal with this podcast is that you walk away from each episode with new lessons that you can apply to your life, as well as real, raw stories of what having it all can look like. I want to spark the flame in your mind that asks, what does it look like to have it all in my life? So, with that, join me in having it all. Is it really possible for us to manifest our deepest values? In this conversation, I sit down with Colleen Patrick Goudreau to discuss living authentically and what she's learned through choosing a life that doesn't always align with the beliefs and habits that society has tried to hand her. We have a lot of fun in this conversation. Colleen is brilliant, and we go in on a number of really fascinating topics. So I'm excited for you to hear, and with that, let's jump right in. Today, I have the supreme pleasure of speaking with someone who I believe really has it all. She has those accomplishments that we commonly associate with success in life. She's a best-selling author of 7 books. She's a renowned speaker and a host of an insanely popular podcast, and she's a sought-after expert and thought leader on living vegan. But I believe it's her heart, her compassion, and her message that really puts her in the having it all category. So I'm really, really excited for this conversation. And with that, I would like to welcome Colleen Patrick Goudreau to the show. Colleen, how are you being today?
That's a great question. Thanks for such a lovely introduction. How are you being? I've never been asked like that before. I love it.
I love asking this question as well. It's one of my favorites.
I don't know how to answer it.
Well, I think the smile that I imagine you have on your face that I can feel through the microphone tells me you're being peaceful and joyous.
Peaceful, yes, I am. I think yes. I think joyous, peaceful. Is not, I strive toward that. I don't know if I accomplish it all the time.
Very nice. Well, I asked that question because I think we're often used to answering the question, how are you doing? Because we're so used to doing stuff, we're doing this, we're doing that, and that's kind of our mindset. But I like to reflect on who we are being and who we are becoming in all of this stuff. So that's why I ask.
Yeah, you've pretty much touched on definitely the issue for me, which is learning to value myself as who I am, not for what I do and accomplish. That's a huge one for me.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Very cool. So this is a great way to kick off this conversation. I actually did want to hear more about, who you are and a little bit more about yourself. I listed off some of the things in my opening, but I know I didn't do them justice. So can you just fill in the gaps for me and tell me a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. So I started doing this work about 17 years ago when I moved to California. I was an animal advocate back in New Jersey, but I continued it in a way that was much more profound for me when I moved to California. I had been vegetarian, but I became vegan, and that really changed everything for me. It was really the ultimate awakening for me. I always say that I didn't become vegan as much as I removed the barriers to the compassion that had always been inside of me. And I think that's what that process really is for people, is that we're already kind, compassionate people, but we have all these blocks. And those blocks were built when we were young, and we were taught all the messages that we're taught to live according to the status quo, to eat animals and contribute to all the ways we contribute to violence against them, going to zoos, going to circuses, contributing to testing on them, etc. So I became vegan, became fully awake, and I started doing even more outreach when I moved out here. And I found and I find that people are moved by the reasons why we don't want to contribute to harm against animals, but they really struggle with the how. And so I started teaching cooking classes. I mean, I have a background in English literature. Communication and writing they've always been my passion, as has animal protection. But I started teaching cooking classes because I found that people really asked the questions, what do I eat and where do I shop? And, what about holidays, and all of the social questions, all of the nutrition questions around being vegan. And that's what I've really built my career on, is being the how, answering all those questions, helping people transition in a way that's joyful and sustainable and delicious, and all of the ways that's going to feel really good and positive, because it's hard enough not living according to the status quo, or I should say it's hard enough, when you're outside of the status quo. And I really want to help people, feel that they don't have to apologize for it, that this is about manifesting your deepest values. And there's something really noble in that, and obviously something really beautiful in that. And I just want to make it easier for them so they don't feel so much like an outcast, which is often what happens, of course, when you're not living according to the status quo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. You talked about the scripting of those beliefs that we have. That happens when we're young, happens from the people we're around, our parents, whatever it is, and how, that applies in many different areas of life, but it absolutely applies in how we view animals. And also just when people hear the word vegan and they think of vegan eating, you mentioned it I think in the videos I was watching. You sort of think that, well, the food's not going to taste good. It's going to have no flavor. It's going to be bland. So I love that you are re-scripting beliefs in a number of ways.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really what it is. It's also giving people permission to re-script. I mean, one of the things, you touched on it, right? The scripts that we're given and taught that are ingrained in us from when we're young are scripts that are related to so many different aspects of our lives. And becoming an adult is about re-examining those scripts and deciding which ones we want to live by, which ones we want to take something from, which ones we want to let go of. And when people say to me, but oh my gosh, my parents, I'm going to my grandmother's house, this is how I grew up, and I'm so afraid to tell them that I'm vegan. I mean, I know people who are gay who have no problem coming out, relative to coming out that they're vegan. Like they have, there's never a problem tell their family but telling them that they're vegan, because it touches on so many fundamental relationships that we have to food, with our families, right? I mean, food is the very first thing our mothers use to nourish us and nurture us. So it's really tied into deep emotional connections. And so when people say, but how am I, this is how I was taught, I don't want to insult my family. My answer is, this could be something else. This could be vegan. This could be food. This could be religion. This could be politics. That part of growing up is saying, what can I take that my family gave me and embrace and celebrate? And what can I say, that's not mine, but this is mine over here. So this is, to me, just one more element of, kind of, it doesn't have to be separating from our families, but at least deciding which scripts are ours. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's powerful. I absolutely know what you mean. And I love how you said part of becoming an adult is looking at ourselves, looking at what scripts we've picked up from other people and chose to make our own, and seeing if those really serve us. And one way that I like to think about this, it's like putting on a t-shirt, right? Like we wake up in the morning and we throw on a t-shirt. We can think of beliefs sort of the same way. Like we wake up, we put on a belief, but you can take off that shirt. You can remove that belief and try on a different one and see how that fits for you. And so I love how you said that, becoming an adult, like that maturation process, part of it needs to be looking at those beliefs.
HelloFresh takes the guesswork and the extra hassle out of planning and preparing delicious meals for dinner. America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh gives you over 40 recipes to choose from each week. And then your farm-fresh, pre-portioned seasonal ingredients arrive at your doorstep with simple instructions to help you feel like the master chef of your kitchen. And did you know that HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% less expensive than takeout? HelloFresh has been an awesome addition to our household's dinner routine. We all get involved and cook together, following the pictured step-by-step instructions. It's a fun quality time, and the meals are delicious. Give it a try and see for yourself. Go to HelloFresh.com/50havingitall and use code 50havingitall for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, to get 50% off plus free shipping, go to HelloFresh.com/50havingitall and use code 50havingitall.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
That's right. And, I'd say even more than that, I think the beliefs are there. So one of the things I say a little facetiously, but I'm serious, is when our parents have a hard time with us being vegan, you blame your parents for teaching you to be critical and compassionate and kind, and, tell them that it's their fault for teaching you to be a compassionate, critical thinking person. Because on one hand, I really do believe that these beliefs are already there. Compassion, kindness. Most people would say that they're compassionate people. But the question is, how are you manifesting that in your behavior? And so with the t-shirt analogy, I would say it's actually even more than beliefs. Well, I think that analogy works as well. But really the word habit is quite literally, the etymology of the word habit refers to something you take off and put on. And we still have the remnants of that word in that context when we think of particular religious groups, like a nun wearing a habit. So we still have that remnant. But if that's how you look at habits, that's exactly the idea, is that it's about taking something off and putting something on again. And that can change every day, and that's okay. And that's part of what habits are about, is trying new ones on. But that's where people get stuck, because these habits are tightly woven onto us, and they're so strong, they just rule us.
Well, I love how you talked about habits. That's something that we'll get into probably a little bit later. But I'm a big fan of habits, and looking at habits and seeing which ones serve us, which ones don't serve us, and talking about how we can create new, healthy, empowering, loving habits. So very cool. I want to jump into one of the questions that I have, and this is funny because what I would like to do is read the opening from your podcast, because I think your message that you have in the very opening of your podcast is powerful. So do you mind if I read that?
No, thank you.
All right, awesome. Your podcast is called it's called Food for Thought. So your opening goes like this: Welcome to Food for Thought, the place to explore, celebrate, and manifest a life motivated and defined by unconditional compassion and optimal wellness. That is powerful. So can you tell us a little bit about what that means to you?
Yeah, the word vegan can be so confined to food or to people's fear around what it means or to really lack of understanding what it means. And so for me, being vegan is about manifesting compassion. I always talk about the fact that being vegan isn't an end in itself. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about being vegan, because people then start attaching perfection to it because they look at it as the end. But for me, being vegan is the means to an end. And for me, that end is optimal wellness and unconditional compassion. So for me, it's really defining that this is what it means to live as compassionately as possible. And vegan happens to be one of the easiest and most accessible ways to get there. But really, that's just one aspect of it. The rest of it is about, what can we do? How do we manifest the compassion that all of us have inside of us? So that's, I think, what that means to me.
That's powerful. I love how you choose your words intentionally. That's one thing I noticed from you as I was going through your website and just reading some of the different things you had. Your words are they're packed full of meaning, and you string them together very intentionally. So I wanted to recognize that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So in the context of this show, having it all means having an abundant, loving life. So my question is, for you, what does having it all mean to you?
To me, it means manifesting what I want, right? What might be having it all to one person. And of course, in our society, we consider having it all being very superficial, obviously having a lot to do with owning things and possessions. But that might mean something to someone, and that might mean having it all to someone, but to someone else, I really think it's about how you define what it is that you want. Like what one person considers a lot, another person might consider not enough. It's really a matter of how you define that. So for me, having it all is absolutely about experiencing and having what I have defined as valuable for me. So that's pretty much how I've lived my life, is what do I want? How do I see my life? How do I envision this? And then how do I go about getting it? I very much believe in manifesting what we believe in. And I believe in it so strongly because I've experienced it myself.
Now, is manifesting a habit that you've cultivated? I know that there are things that you can do to help manifest different things in your life. And that's something that, you've talked about a couple times in this conversation. So is manifestation something that you do habitually?
Yeah, I think it actually is practice, if that's what you're asking.
Yes. Is it practice?
Yeah,
Yes.
I do think it's practice. And what's really amazing about it is when you get out of practice, you forget that that's actually this powerful thing right at your fingertips, that you're just not using it. And so I think, like with anything, it's really a matter of cultivating it and practicing it. And then when you see that it works, you want to do more of it. And I think that's really the trick with any habit, is when you see the benefits of it, and when you really, you have to do it for a certain amount of time to really get it into your bones, and then it becomes second nature. And that's the hope for all of us, is that we aren't stuck. We don't have to be victims of our own personality or of our own past or our own upbringing. We really do have the ability. We have it if we want it. We have the ability to transcend all of that. So, but that's really about, I guess, kind of almost starting with believing it. But even if you don't believe it, I really do believe in practice, and it comes to you.
What are some of the practices that you would recommend to somebody if they're like, you know what, I want to manifest more in my life, but I don't really know where to begin?
Well, you mentioned it a little bit in terms when you mentioned language and words. I believe in the power of the word, and I believe in the power of speaking and saying or writing, just expressing what it is we want. So first, we kind of have to get articulate about what it is we want. We might not know, and what might be helpful for that is really journaling. I mean, just kind of writing how, what it is we want, what we envision. Some of it doesn't have to be physical things that we attain, but really maybe feelings that we experience, or, just a feeling that we have. And so, kind of first getting clear about what it is you want and then saying it out loud and writing it down, putting it down and really saying it. Cause I feel like when we declare it, it's almost like the universe can hear you. Like all the like the stuff that's going on goes, oh, okay, I'm really clear now what it is that you want. Let me help get that. And it's also for your own sake is, it starts with our thoughts is what is it that I want? And when you're clear about it and you articulate it, that's when we really experience the manifestation. Now, that doesn't mean it's magic in the sense that all of a sudden it appears. That's not what it is. It is what happens is you become clear about what the next step is that you have to do because it takes work on your part, whatever it is that you want. So it's not like I want a new house or I want maybe it's I want to have the abundance. I want to have the money to be able to afford my first home. Well, it doesn't mean like you like all of a sudden you get a home you get a someone says, hey, house. It means maybe all of a sudden a new job is put in your path that will enable you to make more money to be able to afford that, or you know what I mean. So and then that's up to you to answer that calling. Like, wow, that's really interesting. This would mean something different, but it might mean stretching out of the comfort zones that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
So what do I have to do to get that? So it still means that you have to do the footwork, but things get put in your path then that enable you to actually attain whatever it is you want.
Oh yeah. I love how you said that. It's, the creation happens in stages. And like you said, it begins with a thought and then it moves into word, which could be writing things down or speaking them out loud, speaking them into the universe. And then it has to move into action. You actually have to go out and do and, get things done. So I like that you said that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I have a question now that I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and talk about challenges. I've been a part of an accountability group for over 2 years now, and I love it. It's been a huge transformational force or power in my life. One of the things that we do is we do something called an epic challenge, where a person has the opportunity to share something that they've just been stuck on in their life. It could be something they've been stuck on for a long time. It could be a real big thing, but the idea is, what is that thing that you've been stuck on? So for you, Colleen, I am curious, what is a current epic challenge that you are working on?
Oh, that's hard. I'm not in your accountability group. And so, yeah, you share this with like a small group of people, and you're asking me to share this with everybody who's listening.
It's all about, putting it out there. And then that's the first step towards getting through that challenge. But I think that what's valuable from it is that, you are one of those people who I think has that the success in a couple of ways you can define it. There's a success with the small s and then success with the big S. And, you have the accomplishments, the best-selling author, popular podcast show. You've done all of those things, but then you're also very grounded and very centered and you understand what you want. So I think it's great to sort of show that people who have that type of success that you have, they still go through challenges. There are still things that you run into that you just bump your head against that are like, I can't get over that. And so, I'm curious if there are any current epic challenges that you're working on, and maybe not. Maybe you've just worked through one and you're waiting for the next one to present itself.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Of course, we all experience challenges. I basically narrow down our experiences in life to lessons and gifts. I mean, that's really all it is. And so everything that happens to us or who we are and every experience we have is really an opportunity to learn or embrace and appreciate. So I absolutely experience challenges. My epic challenge, okay. My epic challenge is probably trusting that no matter what happens, everything's going to be okay. And so fear can play. People are always surprised. My audience is always surprised that I struggle with anything. And I'm like, that's absolutely ridiculous. I am as human as everybody else. Absolutely. And, I call myself a practicing human. Like I make mistakes. I have regrets. I do all the same things. And fear, fear is one of those things. It's really insidious and it can really do a job on us. And so on one hand, fear can drive us, and it drives me, because it makes me want to do more of whatever it is that's making me afraid of. I don't want to, right? But on the other hand, it can also really give great discomfort. And so I am always striving toward trusting that whatever is happening right now that I'm not comfortable with. I'm not very good at process. I really am very good at like the end. I like to finish things. I love tasks. I love goals. I write them down. I love crossing them out. But messiness that I can't control is very difficult for me. I would say my epic challenge is actually getting comfortable with the messy and knowing that on the other end of it, everything's going to be okay. To be really honest, I think that's probably my epic challenge right now.
I mean, that's a challenge that I can absolutely relate to. I mean, the first thing you talked about with that fear, it can be debilitating. And like you said, some folks are motivated by fear. Like they get amped up by that feeling that goes through their body, but other people can get completely stuck in their tracks. And I know I've experienced both. And one of the big things that I've personally experienced when it comes to fear is that I believe that it's my ego is afraid of death, right? My ego is afraid of being confronted and ultimately dying. And once I kind of get beyond that and I realize, like you said, everything's going to be okay and everything will turn out, I have always experienced that on the other end of fear is an amazing sweetness. It's just an amazing feeling that, wow, I made it through and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And oh my gosh, look at what has opened up for me now that I've stepped through that fear.
Right. And that's the trust. That's the trust to know that has happened before, right? Once you get a couple notches, then you go, yeah, well, before when that happened and I was afraid and I got on the other side of it, everything was okay. So it's that kind of experience that you have to rack up and then say, well, my touchstone is that it was okay before, so it's got to be okay again. And that's the trust part. And that's also relying on other people and loved ones. I mean, that's what being part of a community is all about too. And I love that you're part of that community in one aspect in terms of the accountability group. I might have to look into that. I like.
Yeah, it's something that I never really thought of until it was presented to me, and now I am hooked. It's a powerful, powerful part of my personal self-growth and transformation, and just the way I experience life over the past couple of years has really been impacted by that group.
How many people are in the group?
7 people in the group. 7 people.
Is that typical for these kinds of groups? Is that a good safe number?
That's actually a great question. I personally have created my own small accountability groups that I was running with entrepreneurs, and we would stick to 4. So it'd be myself and up to 4 entrepreneurs. And the reason for that was because in the time frame that we allotted, I wanted everybody to have an opportunity to be under the spotlight and be highlighted. So in a group of 7, we still have an opportunity for everybody to share and give feedback. But when we go through the Epic Challenge, kind of like what you and I just went through, it's one person. So it's one person who's presenting their Epic Challenge and getting feedback from the other 6 in the group. And 7 seems to be a nice size for the accountability groups. I think maybe if you start adding more people, then you don't have that intimacy, I would imagine. But 7's been the most that I've been in, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I love that. I'm part of a mastermind group, and I'm sure you and your listeners are mastermind groups are. And it really, for me, I would say that it kind of plays that same role because we really do keep each other accountable, and we have such a connection with each other, and we want each other to succeed. And so it's for business, but it's also personal too, because we're holding each other accountable for the stuff that might come up for us that makes it difficult for us to achieve whatever goal we've created, et cetera. So on that same note, I mean, I love that. And again, that's just community. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. And for me, one of the biggest things I've gotten out of this was I've learned how important it is for myself to be receiving feedback. And receiving feedback has taught me humility. It's really just taught me to recognize when my ego wants to jump in there and say, no, you're wrong, or no, I don't have to listen to that. But being a part of a group that holds me accountable to doing what I say I'm going to do and then gives me feedback on how they're experiencing me throughout everything has just been eye-opening and has really sparked a lot of amazing things within me. So, Yeah, this is, I love these types of, like I was saying, the conversations that just go organically, because I would love for everybody listening to, for themselves, think about the community that they have around them, supporting them. Think about the mechanisms of receiving and giving feedback that they have in their life, and just evaluate if they have them. And if you don't, maybe trying it out, trying and getting involved.
Indeed.
All
Yep,
right. So I want to talk a little bit about your compassion quotes. I really love your compassion quotes that you have on your website. And I'd like if you can kind of explain a couple of them to me. There's 3 that really, really stuck out that I highlighted that jumped out at me when I read them. The first of them is risk having the life you want.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is what it sounds like. And again,
Yeah.
it comes back to that fear, right? So again, I love the word audacity. Do you have the audacity to live the life you want to live? And that means taking risks. And it means, like you said, I mean, it's being vulnerable, it's being humble, it's doing things outside of your comfort zone. For me, I'm always trying to stretch outside my comfort zone, not in a way that I'm one of these people who's like an extreme sports person, or like, I always want to do something that's so radically different. Like my comfort zones are usually much more an emotional kind of comfort zone that I want to stretch out of. And I challenge myself all the time to stretch out of something that, there's nothing wrong with comfort and there's nothing wrong with comfort zones. It's when that comfort or fear stops you from doing what you really, really want to do. And so that's the lesson for me that I try to abide by. And that's what that means.
Powerful.
Looking for a new career? Welcome to Do HVAC Training Service Center in North Charleston. Enroll today in our comprehensive HVAC training hands-on field experience-based program, covering troubleshooting, maintenance, installation, and more on various HVAC systems and ductwork. We offer EPA and NAEP preparation and testing, along with various certifications. Enjoy payment options. Achieve certification in under 5 months. Enroll now for your new journey of skill development and career advancement. Log on to DEWHVACTrainingSC.com to inquire.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
The second one is being vegan doesn't make me better than anybody else, but it does make me better than I used to be.
Well, that's speaking to the fact that there's judgment and misconception about people who are vegan. I mean, there's a concept I call being the vegan in the room, and it's really about being the person who's manifesting what they say they care about, which I don't think a lot of people are used to, people actually living according to the values they say they have. Like, we all say that we believe this, but we don't necessarily live according to it. So I think it's very surprising and shocking, and can really kind of rock people's boat when you show up and you say, this is who I am, and I'm manifesting what I care about. And of course, it holds up a mirror to other people. And so one of the defenses that happens, because people, instead of always absorbing what it is that they see and looking at what it is that's being reflected back to them, they often deflect instead. And so they get defensive or hostile. And so one of the defenses is, so you think you're better than me, to someone who just said, hi, I'm vegan. And like, what? You think you're better than me? Hi, no, I just said I'm vegan. Like, I didn't say anything else. All I said was I'm vegan. And so it's really speaking to that idea of like, this has nothing to do with you. This has absolutely nothing to do with you. This has everything to do with the joy that I feel knowing that I'm living according to the values that I say I have.
Wow. I love that. That integrity right there. The last one is a long one, but I think it's probably my favorite and the one that I read the most because it hit. It's not that we can make a difference. It's that we do make a difference. Everything we do has an impact on something or someone else. We don't get to decide whether we can make a difference. We get to decide only if the difference we make is negative or positive. There are no neutral actions.
Yeah, I love that one. That gives me goosebumps. And I always end my talks with that. And people, it really resonates with people because it's so empowering. I mean, it's really interesting because again, like it's, I pride myself on kind of raising the bar, right? I'm just raising the bar and saying, can we do better? Can we just do better than what we were doing yesterday? Like, can we just raise that bar a little bit? And that idea is just raising the bar and saying, people say, can you make a difference? Is this really possible? And it's the wrong question. The question is not, can we make a difference? The question is, can the difference will the difference we make be negative or positive? And that's really what it comes down to. And talk about accountability. I mean, that's accountability at its best, as we realize that the power is in us to live the life that we want, to reflect the values that we say we have, to be healthy, to not be healthy, to hurt, to not hurt. It's up to us. It's up to nobody else. And that is the ultimate accountability. And some people might be afraid of that. I personally find it incredibly empowering.
Absolutely. Because I think when you really tap into that and when you internalize that, you realize that not only is everything you do important because it's all energy. So the energy is going out and it's impacting the world, but you can then do whatever it is that you want. You can create, you can manifest whatever it is you want. You can experience life the way that you choose. And you mentioned this earlier, you aren't a victim to your upbringing. You aren't a victim to circumstance. You aren't a victim to the economy or your boss or the weather, none of that stuff. And all of that was just jam-packed into this particular compassion quote. Which is why I liked it so much.
Right on. Thank you. Yeah.
So we are rounding nearing the end of our conversation, but before I let you go, I do have a couple more questions for you, Colleen. This one is going to be another one of those questions where you're like, oh boy, how do I respond to this thing? But I am curious to hear what your big why in life is.
Big why.
Mm-hmm. The big purpose.
It really has always been about wanting to be better than I was before. And that's the message that I also bring to the world, that I think we can do better than we're doing now and than we did yesterday. And for me, it really is all about the animals. I think about them every single day. They're the ones that drive my work, the vulnerability of them, the talk about victimhood. I mean, they are absolutely victims of human ego, because it's really what it's about. It's really about our anthropocentrism that affects so many billions of lives. And so they're my why. And I'm hopeful because I believe in the compassion of us as humans, and what gives me hope is my awareness of and my experience of seeing people change. That's what gives me hope. So for me, I want to leave this planet having raised the bar and shifted the paradigm, if only a little bit, to change the way we regard and treat animals. So, I really have to say that they really are my why. They're the reason I do this work. They're the reason I feel guilty when I'm not doing this work. I mean, they really are. They drive everything. They drive everything because they can't speak for themselves and they can't do it themselves.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Raising the bar and shifting that paradigm. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. So as we come to a close here, I heard something about a retreat that you have going on in May, and I was wondering if you could kind of illuminate me and share with me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I'm calling it compassion immersion. And, because again, it's not just about being vegan. For me, it's about compassion. And so I travel around and I speak at different events, and I love that. And yet I thought it was time to put on my own event so that I can create the kinds of sessions and workshops and activities that I think are valuable, that I also know that people ask for and really value. So I decided to put on this retreat, and the inspiration was because my podcast, Food for Thought, is celebrating its 10th year, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
Amazing. Amazing. Also means 10 years have passed. So I'm excited about that. And I just put it out to my audience, and they're so excited to immerse themselves into this what people have been hearing me talk about, what you and I have been talking about, but in ways that are just really structured so that people can walk away with hope and strategies for compassionate communication, strategies for self-compassion, strategies for advocacy that are effective and compassionate, avoiding compassion fatigue. A lot of animal advocates can just be overwhelmed by the amount of suffering and then feel really despondent. So it's really about tapping into that and creating a community for everybody to really learn these skills to live as compassionately as possible for ourselves and for everybody else.
Wow. And where can we go to get information on that? Is there information available right now?
Yeah, so it's going to be on my website. We're actually getting the registration information up very shortly. So maybe by the time this airs, it will be there. But
Awesome.
it can be found at my website. Yeah.
Okay, so they can just go to joyfulvegan.com and they'll be able to get some more info about the retreat.
Yep, that's right.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, is there anything else that you want to talk about or inform the listeners on?
Well, I mean, I always have, the 30-day vegan challenge, which is for me I love having the book and the online program for people to say, I'm willing to at least try this. So again, stretching our comfort zones and at least raising the bar a little bit. And 30 days, if you can't do something for 30 days, then there are other issues I think that you'd have to look at. But the idea is to stretch our comfort zones a little bit. And the 30-day vegan challenge really offers that opportunity to shed some old habits and create some new ones. And whatever you decide to do at the end of the 30 days, I can guarantee you'll have learned something and gained something within that time period. So I encourage people to just go check out the 30-day vegan challenge.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I'll have links to your website as well as the challenge, a link to that in the show notes for this episode.
Thanks, Matthew.
Wonderful. Well, Colleen, I'm really grateful to you for carving out some time with me today and just talking and opening up and being vulnerable, being a little bit courageous and sharing. So thank you so much, Colleen.
Thank you. You're amazing. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more of your work and following you more. So you're on my radar now and I'm really grateful. So thank you for what you're doing, Matthew. It was such a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, it was a pleasure to speak with you as well. All right.
Yeah, you're amazing.
Thank you. What a great conversation. Thank you for that.
Thank you. You're so good at this. You're just really authentic and present and really good listener and just really, you've got a really lovely energy. I really love it. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more. So is your podcast relatively new? Forgive me for not knowing.
Oh, yes. No, that's no problem at all. So this is my second podcast and it is not launched yet. So what I'm doing now is I'm interviewing people that I just find amazing and inspiring like yourself. And I'm collecting everything. So we're ready to launch. And my launch date currently is looking at the first week in March. So that's when I plan on launching this sucker. And I'm super excited because my first podcast was more about marketing. That's my background. I was in digital marketing for about 6 years. And so it was marketing based, but I would always sprinkle in things that were kind of like what we were talking about today, how to live a more empowered, authentic, fulfilled, happy, joyful life. And I decided, not too long ago actually, that I wanted to jump full into that type of work and talking about these types of things because that's what I'm truly inspired about myself. And so I've been interviewing just some really fascinating people. And it's so much fun. And when I have someone like yourself who's just bright and open and all of that, it makes it amazing for me. So it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, I'll get on your mailing list so I can keep abreast of everything and just make sure you let Danielle know when our podcast airs because I'll obviously share it with my audience.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I will let her know and I will be in touch. And Colleen, have a beautiful day and do what you do. Go change the world. And I'm going to be watching. And it's amazing.
Thanks, Matthew. You have a beautiful day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
2 quick things before you leave. First, did you know that the Having It All podcast is a part of the Fireside Network? Yep, that's right. We are one of the shows that calls Fireside Network home. That means if you ever want to listen to a show outside of iTunes or Stitcher or whatever your favorite podcasting app is, all you have to do is visit www.fireside.network
firesidenetwork.com/havingitall. From there, you can access all of the episodes, see the show notes, learn about my guests, and more. Second, we also have a standalone website for Having It All, where you can learn about me, discover how we further our mission at Having It All, and pick up some free content around creating your ideal life and just experiencing life more powerfully. You can find that at www.havingitall.co. Again, that's www.havingitall.co. Thanks again for listening to the show. Here's to you having it all.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.